Moving right along.
Colonoscopy.
That's the part I
In the morning. That goes well, that's why I asked you to move this meeting, because I have to start my procedures at 5.
Where did you be?
In fact, not in one of
The one over on Care Center?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, I can get in there now. Your laughs.
You could be prohibited from, maybe forever. Well, you're not.
Start claiming HIPAA, Jim.
Yeah.
That's your only hope now.
I know.
I'll talk to Hagos and see if we can.
Yeah, I'm okay. Just go in there and see what I. Come on,
Let me ask you a question. Well, I'll ask you.
There's some things better left unanswered.
Oh. It's 45 minutes away, so.
That poor lady that died, you know, that had to do
Emergency, C-section.
Yeah, so sad.
Is that a new phone or something?
It's an old piece of people laughing, but you know they still make it.
Why are you trying to take tobacco?
I'm taking a sip.
Yeah.
Oh, this is at 1:30?
I got it.
You have 1:30 there?
I'm sure I do. Absolutely.
Okay, we'll go ahead and start. Not having Madison here, we'll just go ahead and start. So, skipping the minutes, we'll go ahead and do the agenda. And so, next item is ordinance 7258.
Thank you.
Please.
7258 is another zoning of an unplatted tract of land. This will be the, I believe, the third in 3 weeks. This is setting up more lots out in the City View addition. I think really speaks well to the economy and how lots are starting to move again. Got it?
This is the third zoning for a residential development. The request is to zone it for residential 2, which is our medium density, minimum 6,000 square foot lot area. The property in the north are an extenuation of the current.
So,
Healthcare Reform Act. We added into right now the employees can
For the employees.
And we have a lot of employees now, 700, which is, it is
You know, it's like past behind the line, about the odds on a crap table. It's a no.
and very few of them have 2,500 anyway. 14.
We're still getting paying back.
free.
I did that.
This is free.
Our staff.
Talking about adding 6-year-olds, whatever.
So,
Care, and we're not getting generally any income because our plan is set up to individual or families. If you have children or family, you have a child without increasing premium. Plan, but not premium. I don't have an estimate of what it's.
Does that go in bomb care? 11.
6-year-olds in.
And the
everything else covered elsewhere.
Now, if they're covered elsewhere,
If it's
if they're covered, or even if it's offered where they work, we can exclude them from the plan.
still,
And then it's going to be phased out.
Then that's going to go away. What we're Now, was I yeah, we'll have
Last plan called
It says if they have a spouse that is currently,
This shows your holding. At one time, as you recall, you had several, about 20,000 more acres that went to the north up there, above where the pink or whatever that is. And that was an area that you had intense competition. You actually had some court battles over some of that. And it was an area to where the water that you had originally purchased back in the 1950s had truly been depleted in a significant fashion. We were able, and it was a long process, but we were able to work a trade to take that water off of the city's books and actually to add to your Roberts County holding. It's again north of the river, and the new water we've now moved east of Highway 7. But leaving you with 89,000, you can see there's some things on that map that for long-term viability we need to continually monitor and think about. Up in the big area of the map, you see the rectangular gap in the water rights. Each of those little round circles, of course, is an irrigated crop circle. So there's obviously some use up there.
is that where that's the organic?
The organic is up here.
Okay.
That's what's been called the potato farm. That's the Beck Ranch
Right.
property. As you come down this property toward the south, you see the purple section. That's the roughly 1,500 acres that we would like to talk about under item E. It's titled as Hodnett Farm. That's the surface acreage owned by an agricultural producer. Of course, you own the water rights on that blue top row in the purple. Turn the page, we've zoomed in on that. So you can kind of see that. You can see the tops of the circles kind of peeking out from underneath that shading. That is the indication, again, though, of your 1,500 acres today. One more page shows you the map with all the highlighting removed. And we present this just to give you a sense, again, of the competitive uses that you have in and around that area. And then the final page is the same blow-up we had earlier, but without the shading. And that'll kind of show you the state of the water, so to speak, on that 1,500 acre area over there. So the,
Just right here.
Mr. Hodnett,
He owns that?
he owns that surface.
But he owns the water rights already?
Correct.
Okay, gotcha.
Surface and water.
All right.
And the left-hand border, straight line border, is the New Mexico line, is it not?
That is the New Mexico line, yes, sir. Proposition today, the Hodnetts have negotiated a proposal to purchase those water rights. You have historically, or not historically, you have in the past leased those water rights to them, which allowed them to continue that agricultural operation. Truly, I think that spoke well of the Hodnetts, that they were willing to approach you and make a deal to, at least according to groundwater district rules, help them stay in compliance and legitimize the continued operation of their farms. I think we all know that long-term doing a lease arrangement like that is probably not a viable solution. The Hodnetts purchased a pretty extensive hydrological investigation of the water on that 1,500 acres. They agreed to use the same hydrologist that the city has used to study the entire property, the 89,000 as a whole. The results of that were a little better than we thought. Certainly not what anybody that was buying water would hope. That water averages left to right 148 feet across that property. Of course, being an average, what that means is as you move to the right, as you move to the east, the water over there is a little over 200. But as you move to the west, as you close to the state line, There's places that water is actually much less than 100 feet of saturated thickness. So that water's been used over the years. And will probably continue to be used.
What's an ideal depth?
300?
300 is really, really good. I think we've made transactions where we were the purchaser, Mayor, that we used 200 as a minimum floor. If the properties we looked at were not at least 200, we didn't negotiate it. The proposal, using 148 feet of average saturated thickness and $1 per saturated foot value takes you to the total you see on the page today, which is offered by the Hodners, I believe 221,000 and change there. I think based on your historical practices, based on work that the Canadian River Municipal Water Authority has done, and again, just on the condition of that water right, I think staff would suggest to you that that's a fair offer. We would further suggest then that should you choose to do this, this is the money that's placed into the fund established by the resolution. It can be available for any improvements that we might make.
And this what was the price per acre? Approximately?
Roughly 148. There's some decimals in there that start with.
Sure.
But generally, your whole fund is dollar fund.
It's historically been, the city has one time paid a little bit more than that, but you did that in an area that across the entire holding, it carried over 318 feet of saturated thickness.
And with that at Roberts, where we were completing our donut.
It was actually completing the donut in the Potter County field,
Wow.
This was Miles's.
purchased from the LA County.
Jared, are these squares, is that an acre?
Each
Not
of those
necessarily.
squares is roughly one section, or 1 square mile. That part of the state is not square the way it looks, but
640 acres in a section.
303 and a half.
Mhm.
Right.
Good.
Okay. Okay, well, that sounds like a good thing for us to consider and to move forward in the future.
Well,
It's not doing
I
us
think
any different.
it's just,
Taking out from under us.
to me, makes it so obvious. It's
Oh,
all
yeah.
this production that's going on all around us, that will be depleted one of these days.
Yeah.
Now, whether it's 10 years from now or 20 years, it will be depleted.
Well, it's plus what it's going to cost you to take time.
And we can't go both directions.
Well, I think that's a very valid point. The biggest cost of water is always the infrastructure, not the pipe. So as far as distances, it's not dramatically different to come to Hartley County to take this water or to go to Roberts to take that water. So at the point that someone makes the decision that we need to move to the next big field, I would presume at the time that they'll go for the biggest bang for the buck, which is obviously you can produce more water from a smaller area in your Roberts County holding than you'll ever be able to produce from this one.
Okay. Well, good. It's good that they came together with us as well.
They've been very good to work with.
Yeah. Okay, let's see, now we have the consent agenda.
Mayor, item A on the consent agenda is your handheld meter reading computers. These are devices about this size that the meter readers use as they move around throughout the city, literally on a daily basis to read an individual meter, enter into the computer what the reading is, and it comes back here and it produces a water bill. These are very important to us since they do this to about 67,000 accounts a month. We need to have good stuff that needs to work, and we need to keep them moving. The units we have are 2004 vintage, and they're running out of support from the vendor. We need to, with your permission, move forward and get the new ones and keep that process going.
As the city grows and we talk about these new additions, subdivisions, whatever, are they required to have a meter that's readable by these handheld computers?
This is in effect reading a manual meter.
Oh,
And you're just plugging it in, right?
I see. So
We do.
now, is there not such a thing available?
There are remotely read meters, radio read meters, We have, I think, finished installing those. 5,000.
Yeah.
Those are in areas that they're hard to
2 or
get
3 years
to.
ago, we started on that.
They're in areas that are difficult to get to. They're in areas where a meter may actually be inside of the private property, inside of the fence, and we can't get to it. Up and down I-40, the meters that are out in the rights of way are radio red meters. And we're using them where it's best. They're very, very expensive to get those put into place. We have evaluated just lock, stock, and barrel over 2 to 3 years trying to redo the whole city. And right now, the payback's just not there to do that. It will probably happen. Personally, I think it would be just a phenomenal day to get to the point to where all of the utilities will on radio reads, and only one of the three of us can have to go and read them.
Well, could we not require it?
I don't think you can require it of your franchised utilities. You could require it of yourself. It just becomes a cost issue. At the point everybody's ready to go, and there are some cities on the East Coast that are experimenting with gas, water, electricity, all being on radio reads, and then one of the three contracts to read all of them.
We visited about this a couple of years ago, didn't we?
Yeah, you worked on it very diligently several years ago, and we actually did a multi-year program to do it.
Right. It makes sense to me. Get bitten by those dogs.
Well, and it stops the average billing process, where we have the radio reads like out in country club editions, those older areas out there, where because you couldn't always make contact with the people, you might not get it read every other month, every third month, and you averaged a bill and then you try to true it up. And it's always easier on the homeowner if they're getting a regular monthly bill, and it's taken care of it in those areas. It really has helped. But again, these are actually reading a manual meter.
But that would allow ultimately your personnel to employ to do that, and less gas, less vehicular.
Fewer vehicles on the street.
Okay, we have something for the police department as well.
And these are
SWAT? No, the bomb.
bomb squad.
Yeah.
Bomb squad. These are suits above what a typical bullet-resistant vest would be, but they're not these giant bomb suits that you see used. These are in between the two, and they're specifically designed to let them then put on another layer if they need it, like a hazardous materials suit. Because of the nature of some of the things that they respond to, they requested that we purchase these, and the police department has offered to do so through the seized funds.
Do they have any of these yet at all?
We don't have these. We have the smaller and the bigger. We don't have this particular set of equipment.
So this is going to be a newer model? I'd love to see them when they get it.
Okay. They'll be here reasonably quickly if y'all approve the purchase.
Yeah, okay, I'd love to see it. Don't let me forget. I'll forget. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Dean.
We'll get you fixed up there.
Okay.
We might even offer to put you in one of the suits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure it goes with
what
what
she has on
I'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll do
These
it.
come in basic black. Is that all right?
Basic black. Can I wear a scarf?
I'm sure.
And pearls with the black.
The last costume we had was a Chick-fil-A Holstein. So, yeah, we're ready for another costume.
We need to get some more people in here. Fire department. Good, okay. NetMotion software.
Here, item C is the continuing efforts on behalf of Mr. Brown and his staff to build the regional law enforcement data hub. Again, a project that has been promoted and funded entirely by funds provided through the Panhandle Regional Planning Commission. It again provides information to the actual police cars across the region of local misdemeanor warrant data, arrest data, etc. It's a capability they don't currently have. We have it here, but we're limited only to our information. When this is done, it will just be a much more powerful tool for all law enforcement to have better information. If you have any nice technical questions, Mr. Brown is here to help. Or Tanya, the one that really knows what we're doing.
I wish I knew enough to ask on this. And you're working with PRPC? Yes, And is there a central location that everything comes together?
It'll actually, all this infrastructure will actually reside over in your new dispatch center.
Oh,
law enforcement agencies from 26 counties. And I think there's 52 agencies in total right now, from local police offices to sheriff's offices that come to there to get their warrant checks. When they pull cars over, they'll be able to run those. They'll come through us and on down to Austin and back through us and out to the cars.
Great. Well, I'm gonna have you speak on that, James. Okay, awesome. Any other questions? Okay, landfill equipment damage.
Madison's back.
Hello?
Hello, Madison.
Dairy farmer, sorry.
Okay, we have some equipment to fix, don't
Item
we?
D is a request for funding to repair what actually amounts to rock damage to the bottom of a large scraper out of the landfill. We did include a picture of one of these things under item D. What this is the bottom pan, the part that engages the ground, and is dragged forward as it begins to work. Struck buried rock and has suffered pretty extensive damage.
Yeah. How many are there of these? Oh, three? Three? Thank you. We need to get out there and see that landfill. See some of this.
We're open 6 days a week. Come on out.
Yeah, yeah,
Bring your trash.
yeah. Okay, we'll get out there. We'll start making some trips. What do you call that in school? What do they call?
Field trip?
Field trips. Right. Make a note of that, Dean. Please.
That's a suit and
Field
trip.
trips. Yes.
We could put in the suit and go on a trip.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, let's see. Then we go to the Osage.
We go to Osage, change order request number 10. As you can see from your backup, it comprises multiple smaller and/or larger both credits and debits against the project. This again is the work being done out at the water treatment plant. This is your 0% stimulus money, the ARA money. And Mr. Autry and Mr. Floyd are here to help us with any questions you might have.
I can be detailed or I can be brief,
I know.
whichever you prefer.
This is the same thing we've been working on for a while. Have we, Emmett?
The contract, yes, it's for the new pump station out at the Osage plant. And it'll be going on for about another 14 months.
Oh, really?
The work's completed.
So if we were to go out there today, you would see some,
A lot of concrete
really?
and disturbed earth.
A big hole in the ground.
Right.
How deep does that go?
Well, the wet well or suction pit for the pumps, which is the majority of the concrete out there, is right at 40 feet deep.
Mm.
And of course, it's a monstrous amount of concrete from that point up.
Mhm.
So they're, next week or the week after, they should be pouring the concrete deck that goes on top of that. And when they're done with that, that will be the walking floor for where the motors are located and the switchgear and all of that. So they're finally getting back up to ground level with their concrete. And that deck is a very complex
Isn't it?
forming and concrete and rebar system.
Really?
Very complex.
It's pretty much open span. Will
Yes,
it
sir.
not be?
Yes, sir. Got some huge beams that'll be poured in there to support it over that span. And then, of course, we've got some discharge piping that'll be encased in concrete going out the south side of it, on the discharge side of the pump station. And so they're having to do some specialized forming and rebar work out there because of those openings through the walls.
Mm-hmm. Is it one that has a dome on it?
It's adjacent to that. It's just to the south of it, Mayor.
Uh-huh.
Just immediately to the south of the
Uh-huh.
dome tank.
And the dome tanks, or what are they called? The dome holes?
Those are clear wells.
Clear wells.
Right, and the big dome tank has been there since about 1993. The other two with the aluminum tops on
Mhm.
have been there since the plant was built.
Yeah.
And the tops have been replaced, but otherwise it's still the same clear wells. Each one of those clear wells holds 5 million gallons of water.
Mm.
And that's what we use for the high demand part of the day.
Mm.
So we can draw down on that, and at night we fill it back up.
Emmett, the flow rate of the new pump station when completed?
What will it be? We will have 4 20 million gallon high service pumps and 2 20 million gallon transfer pumps to transfer it to the west side of town. Those will be 1,500 horsepower motors. So all total we'll have 9,000 horsepower of pumping capacity in that pump station.
Is that water treated in the pump station before it's distributed out?
Before it gets there. It's treated before it goes into those 3 clear wells. And then the water flows from there to the suction pit of the pump station, or it will when it's all finished. And there's a lot of engineering that went into balancing how we don't draw more from one tank than we do from another. That all went into the design of it. So it's not just go out and plug in a bunch of pipes and put up a pump station and start pumping.
Right.
Because you could potentially pump one dry while the other one is overflowing
Sure.
if it's not done right.
The open water pits out there,
The basins. Right?
basins, and that's where they're all situated?
That's part of the treatment system.
That's part of the
there.
treatment system.
Right, it's still being treated at that point.
So
And it goes from there to filters, gets some chlorine, goes to the clear wells, from there to the pump stations.
Ah, I see.
Before you get it in your mind, we've had a field trip out there.
I know it, but some new things are happening, so we need to go see it again. That's about the only field trip we've had.
Let me know.
I think it's so interesting.
We'll put it together. Just wear your cloud hoppers.
Uh-huh,
And it is a hard hat area.
yeah.
We
What-
can
what
accommodate you on that.
How do you determine what water goes into the towers?
That's the purpose of the elevated tank is similar to those clear wells, except that you want to store water, what we call at elevation, which is enough to produce 65, 70
Pressure.
pounds of pressure. And that is a volume that can be drawn down during the high demand period of the day, refilled during the low demand period. The difference between a clear well and the elevated tank mainly is that the elevated tank creates pressure.
Kind of
For
an
the
IV,
system.
is that thinking on an IV, don't you?
Very similar.
Mhm.
Very similar.
Fill it up, in and out. That's very interesting.
If you
Yeah.
have questions about anything as part of that change order,
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you
that's
so much.
explained.
And you don't know about these change orders until you needed it.
right, things happen. Just one example there is the one that deals with the storm sewer that runs through there. The original plans indicated it was in a certain location, and when they started to build their valve vault, they realized it was in that location. So it had to be rerouted. They had to put in a temporary line because of disturbed earth, and they have to come back and put in a permanent rerouted storm sewer and then compact the earth appropriately.
Amazing, big job. I love it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, let's see. Did we have any boards we wanted to talk about
Yeah,
back here?
I don't believe that we did at the moment.
Okay.
If it would be acceptable, I think we could move to a closed session.
Are we going to be looking for a new CDC person? Are they all still on there? Oh, wait, there's a resign, I see that one.
We need a couple of replacements. We're working on some things.
Okay.
I would like to invite you to either of our big construction sites.